Hello, everyone, and we are glad to have you for this episode of nanoCHAT Newbies Edition. I am here this week with Shirley and Wes as they recount their adventures in joint teaching a foundation level inorganic chemistry class at the Naval Academy. My name is Anthony Fernandez. And I am really excited because this is the third episode of this series that I have had the pleasure to host. And I really enjoy each week hearing how the course has evolved over the whole term. And I know last week that the two of, oh, sorry, not this week, but the previous week, the two of you were on spring break. How did that go? Did you two have a chance to go in, relax a bit?
Not a whole lot of relaxing, but it was quite productive. So I was pretty happy about that. I personally used that time to get ahead on materials for the course. When the students left for spring break, I had completely exhausted everything I had prepared up until that point. So I was definitely in need of a little bit of a break to catch up a bit. So I prepared all of the materials going forward as we're getting into coordination chemistry. And it also gave me some undisturbed time in lab a little bit to, kind of push the research projects ahead. So it wasn't relaxing in the sense that I was like sitting on a beach, but it was relaxing and good in other ways and good to catch up a bit.
But I'm sure, Wes, that in your mind you were on a beach.
Yes, I don't know what that says about me though. If being in the lab makes me feel relaxed, but there it is.
Well, yes, that I was going to say, Anthony, thanks for hosting the third time. I think you probably heard that there's a prize at the end for the most number of hosted episodes. So yeah, expect something in the mail. I won't say what. My spring break was also not as relaxing as it could have been, but it did give me some time to reflect. And you had mentioned in your intro today that, Wes and I have this opportunity to do this joint teaching of inorganic. And I just want to point out that that's been such a positive experience, especially as a new person. So it's great to have each other. It's great to have the support of our inorganic colleagues who have taught the course multiple times before and have freely shared all their resources with us. And I think Wes and I have just settled into a good division of labor. He's usually ahead of me in the syllabus. So he does learning objectives and homework and gets those, all squared away. And then I've been working on, doing literature discussions and setting us up for our big group project at the end, which will be literature based. And then we write quizzes and exams pretty much together and grade some the exams together so that the students really have a common experience. And in the meantime, we just, I think, offer a lot of empathy and support. We were both a little bit lost, if I will say, in solids, and just to have someone else to talk to about that. And then we're both moving into coordination compounds and into organometallics, which is more our comfort zone. And once again, just having a buddy during this process has been great.
Yeah, it's been really helpful just to, share that work a little bit, spread it out, because thinking about making all these materials entirely myself is a little bit of a daunting task. So between having someone else to split it up and then also having all the resources on Viper, it's made it a lot easier.
So I like to think that Viper is the virtual teaching partner, right? For someone who doesn't have a Wes, in their department that gets to teach with them.
Well, so that should all be our goal, to have a Wes in our department. So, and then Shirley, I just have one question that with Wes being a new faculty member, he's still in that phase where he is sort of, he is teaching courses for the first time. You are someone who is much more experienced, yet you're sort of having that new experience of having a totally new course. How has that felt over the course of the semester?
That's a great question. Wes, do you have thoughts first? I'm trying to think of how my experience is different.
I mean, for me, it's kind of just the norm. This is my fourth course, I guess, I'm teaching for the first time here. I mean, I've taught general chemistry at other places, but it's my first time doing this specific iteration when I showed up here. And then I taught a different version of it. I taught a lab course for the first time. So, you know, I think to your point, Anthony, like it's not that unusual for someone in my position to be doing this for the first time. This is almost kind of what is expected.
That's right.
You don't take a faculty position and do something that you're really comfortable with. It's kind of like you're jumping into a whole new world. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely the more challenging of all the new courses, though. You know, teaching general chemistry the first time is not a really challenging task. The lab course that we have here, the integrated lab, teaching that course, I did not find be entirely very challenging to do for the first time, because I was just coming out of a postdoc where I spent 60 some hours a week in lab, so I'm used to being in lab. Like that's not that bad.
It's your beach after all, right? The
It
lab
is my
is your
beach, exactly. But yeah, I mean, this material it's very challenging, and even though it is my subject matter that I am like an expert in, I haven't seen it really since I was 20 years old when I took this course, because you go into grad school and you really focus in on this one narrow aspect of it. Shirley mentioned solids, and I hadn't thought about solids and coordination number and like some of these more fundamental things in quite a while. So it's been the more challenging course to do for the first time, definitely.
Sure.
So yeah, as the more senior member of the partnership, I will say it has run through my head, how many more times can I teach a brand new course? Because it is pretty exhausting. And one of the benefits, though, I will say, is that I'd had many years of teaching organic chemistry in our majors program before this. And what I'm seeing is all these great opportunities to bring up content from those courses, bring it forward into inorganic. And what I hope to do after being through inorganic a couple of times is to go back to the instructors who are doing organic now and say, hey, here are those things that you could highlight a little bit and maybe foreshadow for us. When we talk about chirality and we talk about mirror planes, breaking the chirality and making things achiral, you could bring that up as, oh, you'll see this in inorganic again, where you'll have a whole, treatment of it. And so I'm just looking forward to making those connections stronger for the students, both in the forward and the backward directions.
Well, that's really great to hear, because that is an advantage of having the two of you teach in this way, right? That there's you who has a more experience purview, right? And then you have Wes, who's sort of coming at everything totally new, right? So it is really great. But now I also want to hear about what you did this week, because in this week you started your coverage of coordination chemistry, which is my favorite topic to teach. So how did this week go?
Yeah, so we started this on Monday in my section, and we're continuing with that now. And we got through nomenclature, which the students really despised. I think they didn't like it in organic chemistry, and they don't like it now. Is kind of what I took from that. But they're doing okay with it. It's not a lot of memorization, so they can deal with that. And then we also did electron counting. So basically everything I show now, any molecule, I'm always asking what the electron count is and what the DN electron count is. And they took to that really well. We're using the CBC method, which Shirley introduced me to, and she sent me some good resources from Viper on that, including a Slither video that I watched that really helped me to understand it, because it's much different than anything I've seen. And they've taken to that pretty well. So that's going pretty well. It's been really exciting for me because this is an area I'm much more comfortable with, and then I get to share a lot of examples with them that are near and dear to my heart. So when I'm asking them to do electron counting, I'm showing them things that I made in grad school or I make in my lab now, and then I can explain what these molecules do and why they're interesting. Or use something like cobaltazine, and then that's 19 electrons, and that's really interesting, and explain that's why it's a good reductant. So that's been going pretty well. They do like the fact that any of these sandwich compounds are called a something seen. I don't know why. They just found that to be very humorous. So when I said the word zirconocene, they all just started giggling. So I don't know if there's some word that I'm not used to that I don't know that the youth are using, but they found that to be funny.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit behind Wes in the syllabus, and I offloaded all of nomenclature into a take home using Gary Galay's nomenclature worksheet, which I think is like a Viper staple. I've heard people talk about it over and over again. So yeah, Anthony's like thumbs up. And
Yep.
then yeah, all the CBC resources. So a big shout out to Chip Natero, who was the one that really pushed CBC in the earlier days of Viper, and it was at a Viper workshop that I first learned about it. And for someone who'd always counted, neutral or ionic, it was really eye-opening, and I became a convert. And now Wes and I decided we don't even show the students the other kind. Like we just only show them the one way, and it's hopefully not going to lead to any confusion. And yeah, we're just mining all of those great LOs on Viper that are related to CBC, and they'll be linked to the show notes for this video.
Well, that's great. And just I'll throw in this one last idea for you. One really fun way to get your students to practice. There's a company called D Orbital Games, and they have 2 card games, both on called Slap Count, which is where they count the D electron configuration. And then there's another one, I believe it's called 18 electron or something like that. But it gives you a metal plus a ligand card, and it'll go classify the ligand as like L2X, and then you have to build a complex. And so I bought a few sets for my students, and I have them do it in lab while there's some time while they wait for things to happen. So anyway, but so thanks for spending some time with us, those of you who are out there watching it. Thanks to Wes and Shirley for this time. I hope that next week, as you continue coordination chemistry and look toward crystal and ligand field theory, I hope that goes well. And if you want to catch up on any earlier episodes, you can head off to YouTube and watch those episodes. And so I hope for this week, all of you find your own personal beach and get some downtime, and we'll join Wes there, at least mentally, if not physically. Okay, thanks everyone. And Wes and Shirley, have a great week next week.
Thanks, Anthony.
Thanks, Anthony.